Facebook Live. I've been watching the discussions online, or Facebook Live, YouTube Live, I should say, discussions online over the temporary foreign worker program. And I put out a post on X because Pierre Poilievre has called to end the temporary foreign worker program, which is fine in a sense. But what I did say to let people know is just be careful when you're talking about ending this immediately, because there will be economic consequences. And boy, the blowback I got from people flipping their lids. Oh, you're a leftard, you're crazy. Oh, TFWs are ruining everything. We got to get rid of it now. Deport them all. That's not a wise way to approach this, guys. Now, in saying that we shouldn't just be, immediately shutting down the temporary foreign worker program isn't saying that there isn't a problem with it, but it is being realistic with what we have to do with it. It's economically entwined right now with where things are. And when I've gotten responses from some people online too saying, oh, it'll immediately raise the standard of living for people, and it'll raise wages, and it'll get more jobs and all that. Not immediately, guys. The people who think that you can flip it like a light switch and suddenly it's going to increase wages for people, it's a simplistic solution to a complex problem. It's like the people who think that raising minimum wages will end poverty. It just doesn't work that way. It'd be nice if it was that easy, but it doesn't work that way. But let's go into the imaginary scenario where we just deported every temporary foreign worker and threw them out. What will the companies do now when they suddenly have a labor shortage? People say, well, there's 10% unemployment in some provinces or in some categories of youth and everything. Okay, but if you think that pool of ready labor is actually just sitting there ready to go into work, you haven't tried employing people. We've got a bigger problem when it comes to our youth willingness to work and the types of jobs they're going to work. See, here's somebody responding right off the bat. Hire Canadians. Okay, where are you going to get them? What are we going to do in the interim until you can get those Canadians? I mean, I agree. We will be better off once that changes, but it won't happen overnight. And people saying, well, those companies were underpaying to begin with. And again, you sound like the minimum wage people. Look, I owned a restaurant. A lot of the people I hired, and that's the thing too, is a lot of people are pointing at industries where they see a lot of new Canadians in them, and they assume they're temporary foreign workers. And they aren't necessarily. Here's another commenter, TFW, living in permanent housing. What could go wrong? Again, I'm not saying there isn't a problem, but the problem is going to be a hell of a lot worse if we just go by a knee-jerk reaction and start deporting people. This has to be eased out of. As I said, I owned a restaurant. I hired a lot of new Canadians. Why did I do that? Because I couldn't find locals who wanted to work there. And then there's the people saying, well, you must not have been paying enough. Okay, well, when you're in a business in the service industry there, the food service, the margins are 4 or 5% profit on average. Look it up. That's right in Stats Canada. It's all the rest. And, you've got to pay a limited amount for people coming in, or you got to raise the prices. So if everybody's ready, that's what I got to say to people when it comes to raising minimum wages or getting rid of temporary foreign workers in some industries. How much are you willing to pay? How much are you willing to pay for the increase in consumer goods? How much are you willing to pay when some of the businesses actually go out of business? Now, businesses can change. We can have different models and eventually ease out the temporary foreign workers. But if you switch it off without thought, if you do it quickly, you are going to cause economic repercussions. We've got to have a nuanced discussion, guys, not pitchforks and knee-jerk reactions. Part of the reason you can get that cheeseburger as cheap and fast as you can is because new Canadians are working in there. And as I said, it's not all just the fast food area. Here's somebody saying, I'm in Alberta outside of Edmonton for 4 years. My other half sent out thousands of resumes, 2 degrees in oil and gas, and couldn't find anything. Well, I don't know if that has anything to do with temporary foreign workers, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different situations. And look at some of the positions we got. Agriculture is a big one that people speak of, for example. Where are we going to find all these Canadians to go out to the Okanagan to work like mad people for 12 hours a day during the fruit harvest? because it's just in a lot of agricultural areas, it's a really hard work scenario for a short period of time, and then it's gone. You don't have a big local labor pool hanging there waiting to jump onto those jobs and jump out. Thus, temporary foreign labor helps with it. And it gets you those cheaper products. Again, the people saying that they're willing to pay higher prices for things, I call BS on a lot of that. Again, as a restaurant owner, I saw it. The people who scream when the price of their beer goes up 50 cents or the price of a burger goes up $1. I understand some people are willing to spend a little more, but look, I'm just saying we need to have a rational discussion. Screaming at everybody, calling them a leftard because they're saying we can't just shut down temporary foreign workers overnight isn't solving anything. There's a problem. I've written 2 columns in the last week on immigration, and that encompasses temporary foreign workers as well, because we are bringing in way too many people into Canada. There is no doubt. Mass immigration is a massive problem. As somebody pointed out too, it is causing housing pressures. It is overloading our healthcare systems. It is causing problems in the employment sectors in areas because it's being poorly planned, poorly managed, and massively brought in. But ending it with a poor plan won't fix the problem either. We have to look at things carefully. I like quick solutions. I don't like dithering. I understand. But in this particular case, we need to think a little harder on it, okay? And people we want panaceas. We want simple solutions. I like that Poilievre is bringing up the temporary foreign worker problem. But we got to take this on then and come up with a plan. We got to remember how well conservatives have done in elections in this last 10, 12 years. We need more than slogans. We need more than just short sentences trying to give a quick fix to a bigger problem. And that's part of why the last election was lost too. It was just all slogans and not much depth. So I just didn't want to go into the time in the rabbit hole on X for the people all wound up because I dared to say, just hang on, shutting down the temporary foreign workers overnight is not an immediate solution to anything. And in fact, it will come with some consequences. Some people say short-term pain for long-term gain. Fair enough. I think over time, in easing down and possibly even eventually eliminating the temporary foreign worker program, the gains might be more than the losses on it. But if you just go in there with a hatchet and you shut it down, I tell you what, you're going to put a lot more Canadians out of work, Canadian business owners, others who work in businesses that get shut down because they can't fill those voids. And you're going to see inflation. People don't think through the economics of things enough, not often enough anyways. Because again, I keep likening it to the minimum wage people. Hey, if we just raise minimum wage high enough, everybody will be rich. But it doesn't work that way. It ends up slowing down business, reducing the amount of jobs that are actually there, and putting the price of everything up for everybody. So yes, let's have the discussion on the temporary foreign workers. Let's have the discussion on immigration in general, and we definitely have to cut it back. But we have to do it with thought, guys, because if we just ram in there hacking and cutting without it, we're just going to make things worse. I just wanted to get that out because it's too much to get out on X in short form, but it's a longer answer I can give to folks. And hey, keep the comments coming. The issue is right. It needs to be addressed. It's just the approach from some people has to be a little more thoughtful.